Maya's hand froze halfway to the champagne bottle. The man's sleeve had slipped back when he reached for his glass. Just an inch. Just enough. The ring. Silver. Thick band. Flat face. A compass engraved on top. North Point stretching a little farther than the other three. Tiny words circling the edge. True North, June 1980. Not a knockoff. Not a replica. Her father wore that exact ring. The tray in her hand started to slip. Her palms were suddenly slick. Two crystal flutes rattled together. She swallowed. Tried again. Her throat felt like it was locking up. "Excuse me, sir?" The man glanced up from the center of the VIP booth. Mildly annoyed. Rich. The kind of rich that looked bored in expensive places. Up close, he wasn't young. Mid-60s, maybe. Silver at the temples. Sharp suit. The sort of face that had aged under boardroom lights, not sunlight. Hazel eyes. A little tired. A lot detached. "Yeah," he said. Her heart hammered so hard it hurt. This was stupid. Dangerous. You didn't question men like this. You smiled. You poured. You left. But her dad's face flashed in her mind. This morning, wincing as he stood. Surgery quotes hanging like a sentence. And this man was wearing a ring that matched his. Perfectly. Down to the smallest scratch. Impossible. Unless. That ring, she managed. "Where did you get it?" One of the men at the booth snorted. "She likes your jewelry, Daniel. Buy her one." Laughter rippled. But the man, Daniel, didn't laugh. His hand paused halfway to his mouth. The glass stopped. His gaze dropped to the ring, then back to her. Something flickered across his face. Recognition. Fear. Memory snapping awake. Then gone. "Family heirloom," he said. "Why?" The music thumped. Bass shaking the floors. Ice clinking. Voices humming. But around them, everything went sharp. Cold. Suspended. Maya's fingers dug into the tray. The flutes rattled. "Because my father has that ring," Maya said. Too loud. Heads turned. Same compass. Same inscription. True North, June 1980. This time, no one laughed. Someone sucked in a breath. Daniel's face drained to paper white. "My father got it from his mother." Maya pressed, the words tumbling free, too fast to catch. Before she died, she told him she copied it from a photograph of his father's ring. She kept the photo for decades because. Her voice cracked. Because his father gave her money and told her to get rid of the baby. A champagne flute slipped from Daniel's fingers. It exploded on the marble floor, shards scattering like ice. Champagne splashing across expensive shoes. The sound sliced through the room. Conversation stuttered. Music blurred. Maya didn't flinch. She only watched his face. The shock, the horror, the sudden hollow understanding. His lips parted. One word escaped. Barely audible. "Isabella." Her chest seized. "My grandmother," she said, "was named Isabella Chun." The entire VIP section stopped breathing. Daniel stared at her like the floor had fallen out beneath him. "How old is your father?" he asked, voice breaking open. It didn't sound like the billionaire from the magazines. 45, she said. Born in Chicago. Raised by a single mother who worked herself to death, trying to give him a decent life. He blinked hard. Processing. Collapsing inward. "I have a son," he whispered. The tray almost slipped from Maya's grasp. "He doesn't know you exist," she said. "He's at home in a tiny apartment on the south side. Pretending his spine isn't on fire, so I won't worry. He spent his whole life believing his father didn't want him." The words hit him like physical blows. Daniel's hand covered his mouth. The ring, that ring, flashed under the blue lounge lights. The compass glinted like an accusation. "And before anything else happens in this room," she said, "you need to understand how 3 lives collided because of that ring." She leaned closer. "And if you want the rest of this story, don't move." She glanced at the shaken crowd, the shattered crystal, the spilled champagne. If you're watching this, tap like and subscribe so more people can see what this ring exposed. 12 hours earlier, Maya's alarm was screaming. The cheap digital clock on the crate she called a nightstand blinked 4:45 a.m. in angry red numbers. She smacked it off and lay there for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Still exhausted, she swung her legs over the side of the thin twin mattress. The springs groaned. November air bit at her ankles. The radiator wheezed but did nothing. 3 steps to the kitchenette. 2 to the bathroom. The entire apartment was barely bigger than the Sapphire Lounge's restroom. A row of orange prescription bottles lined the counter beside a chipped mug. Beside them, a note. "Don't forget to eat. Dad." She picked it up, pressed her thumb into the paper like pressure could erase his pain, then set it down. The couch creaked. "I'm up," Carlos muttered. "No, you're not," Maya said. He tried to sit up. A line of agony slashed across his face. He masked it poorly. "What time?" he asked. "Too early," she said. "Sleep. I like pretending I see you sometimes," he grumbled. "Sit with your old man. You're 45, not 80. My spine disagrees." He tried to stand. She was already at his side, slipping under his arm to take his weight. He tried to hide it. Failed. 3 steps to the bathroom. He cursed at step 2. She pretended not to hear. Once he was on the closed toilet lid, he sagged in relief. Sweat on his forehead. She shook 2 pills into her palm, filled a chipped glass with tap water. "Not on an empty stomach," she reminded him. He swallowed with a grimace. "That doctor," Carlos muttered, "said you need surgery like he was offering me cable upgrades. 70 to 90 grand. Crazy man." The silver ring on his finger caught the dim light. Her eyes went to it instinctively. "My mom made this for me," he said softly, turning it. He always told this story when he was hurting. She copied it from a photo. A ring some rich college kid used to wear. "He gave her money to take care of me before I was born. She kept me anyway. She kept the photo too. Said she wanted me to have something of him even if he didn't want me." Maya had heard it 100 times. She said the compass meant he always knew where he was going, he added. "I told her rich people don't need compasses, they have chauffeurs." She laughed. Said maybe one day I'd need it more than he ever would. His expression softened, shadows crossing his face. "She never told me his name," he said. "Not until the letter." The letter sat in a battered envelope beneath the couch cushion, a thin rectangle of truth mailed from Arizona 5 years ago, 1 week before Isabella died in a car accident. "Don't," Maya whispered. "Not before sunrise." "Too late," he sighed. "I've got a daughter working 2 jobs because my body opted for early retirement." "Your body cooks better tamales than you do, so you're staying." He chuckled. She helped him back to the couch and tucked the blanket around him. His hand drifted under the cushion and brushed the envelope like he couldn't let it go. "Working diner and lounge today?" he asked. "Yeah. Long day. Normal day." She grabbed her coat. "Eat something. Take your 10 o'clock pills. And don't read that letter 3 times. "Bossy," he said. "Hereditary." She stepped out into cold gray morning. Fried food smell rising from the downstairs restaurant. Her breath puffed white. The bus was half empty. She leaned her head against the cold glass and watched the city blur. Her first shift at the Greasy Spoon was all burnt coffee, cracked vinyl booths, and regulars who tipped in advice instead of dollars. Her second shift would be Sapphire Lounge, where people drank champagne worth more than her monthly rent because it was Friday. She didn't let herself think about Northwestern, about the acceptance letter in her drawer, about the scholarship she didn't get, about the dream that had slipped out of reach. Dreams didn't pay for MRIs. Across the city, another alarm vibrated against a polished nightstand. Not loud, very polite, the kind of alarm that cost extra. Daniel was already awake. He sat up slowly, elbows on his knees. The room around him, high ceilings, cold glass, expensive furniture, looked like a showroom he lived in instead of a home. He looked at his hand. The ring glinted even in the dim morning light. Silver. Compass. True North, June 1980. His father gave it to him when he graduated Northwestern. "You carry the Westbrook name now," the old man had said. "Don't lose your way." Daniel had been 22. Arrogant. Hungry. Desperate to be everything his father demanded. Funny how a man could follow every map and still get lost. He stood, pressed a button, and the blackout shade slid up to reveal Lake Michigan. black water with streaks of gold from early morning lights. He grabbed his phone. Notifications blinked. Sophie, merger celebration tonight, Sapphire Lounge at 8. Sophie, press confirmed. Sophie, Marcus wants you to mention your father's legacy. He let the phone fall to the bed. Legacy. He almost laughed. He slid into his gym clothes. Ran until his chest burned. Showered. Suited up. Coffee from a machine that cost as much as a used car. He went through the motions of being Daniel Westbrook. Billionaire. Founder. Visionary. None of it touched the empty place inside him. Before leaving for the day, he opened the hidden album on his phone. Isabella. Her face filled the screen. Dark hair, gentle eyes, a crooked smile. He remembered her twisting his ring on her thumb. "You're too serious all the time," she teased in their dorm room. "Relax. It's just jewelry." But it wasn't. Not to him. He remembered the coffee shop where she told him she was pregnant. He remembered his father saying, "You will end this, or you will lose everything." He remembered pushing the envelope across the table. The cash inside. He remembered her face falling apart as she realized what he'd chosen. He remembered telling himself it was the only way. He remembered believing it. He remembered regretting it every day since. The investigators he'd hired over the years had found her living quietly in Arizona. Then the car accident 5 years ago. Every trail ended there. He closed the photos and left his penthouse. When he walked into Sapphire Lounge that night, he looked exactly like the man the world thought he was. Controlled, polished, untouchable. He had no idea he was minutes from his entire life splitting open. And then a bartender said, "My father has that exact ring." And everything he'd buried clawed its way back to the surface. Now, in the center of the VIP section, with crystal shards at his feet and Maya staring him down, Daniel felt something he hadn't felt in 40 years. Terror. "Your grandmother," he whispered. "Isabella." "Chun." Maya nodded once, chin trembling with anger she refused to show. "She raised my father alone," Maya said. "She worked herself half to death. She saved that photo of your ring for decades. She left him a letter before she died. She never stopped thinking about you. He never stopped wondering why he wasn't good enough." Daniel flinched. His partner Marcus leaned in and hissed, "Daniel, this is insane. She's obviously—" "Stop." Daniel's voice was quiet, sharp, dangerous. Marcus froze. "Where is he?" Daniel asked Maya. "Your father." She crossed her arms. "Home. South Side. Tiny apartment. Bad radiator. Leaks when it rains." The shame hit him like a punch. "I didn't know," he said, voice cracking. "I swear to." "You knew enough to write a check," she said. "You knew enough to disappear. You knew enough to run." He closed his eyes. Every ugly truth pressed against him like weight. "Take me to him," he said. Maya's eyebrows shot up. "No," she said. He blinked. "What?" "No." She said it calmly, like she denied billionaires every day. "You don't just walk into his life because your guilt clock finally rang." "My guilt clock." "You want to meet him?" she asked. "You come on our terms. No cameras. No driver. No Westbrook. You show up as Dan, the guy from the lounge. That's it." "Okay," he said immediately. She frowned. "Not tonight. He's in pain. He'll pretend he isn't if he sees you looking like a magazine cover. That'll hurt him." "Tomorrow," Daniel said. "Yes." Marcus sputtered. "Daniel, you can't." "Leave," Daniel said. Marcus's mouth opened. "Get out." Marcus shut it. Stood. Left. The rest of the VIP table followed within seconds, suddenly unsure if they'd witnessed a scandal or an earthquake. Soon, only Daniel and Maya remained. She jerked her head toward the staff hallway. Back here. The hallway smelled like bleach and fryer oil. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Daniel looked wildly out of place, too polished for a space with peeling paint. "What's his name?" Daniel asked. "Carlos." He swallowed. "Tell me about him," he said. Maya leaned against the wall. "He's the best man I know," she said. "He used to carry sheetrock up 4 flights of stairs. Now brushing his teeth is a workout. He apologizes when I buy groceries. He cracks jokes while he's in pain, so I won't cry. He never once made me feel like I ruined his life." Daniel's eyes burned. I'm sorry, he whispered. Save it, she said. Say it to him. I was 21, he said. I thought giving her the money was responsible. My father told me I'd lose everything. I listened to him. I didn't listen to her. It wasn't responsible, Maya said. It was cowardly. He didn't argue. Tomorrow, she said. 10 a.m. regular clothes. No entourage. You knock and say, hey, I'm Dan from the lounge. You sit on our broken couch. You drink our terrible coffee. You earn your place. He nodded slowly. And if you hurt him, she added, I will make sure every building with your name on it regrets existing. He almost smiled. Almost. I won't, he said. I already regret enough. Go home, she said. Figure out how to be a person by tomorrow. Daniel left, the compass ring brushing the door frame as he passed, metal trembling against wood. He didn't sleep. He tried. But every time he closed his eyes, he saw Isabella's face. Then Maya's. Then a man he'd never met, 45 years old, raised by the girl he abandoned. At 9 a.m., he gave up. He pulled on jeans, an old sweater, a jacket that wasn't tailored. The ring stayed. He couldn't take it off even if he'd wanted to. He walked out past the doorman. Sir, your car. Not today. Daniel stepped outside into the cold air, flagged a cab, gave the address. The driver didn't recognize him. That felt right. The cab rolled into a different world. Brick buildings, chipped paint, barred windows, cracked sidewalks. Daniel stepped out at the corner, paid cash, walked up the narrow steps, buzzed. Yeah. Maya's voice crackled. It's Dan, he said quietly. The lock buzzed open. Maya met him at the top of the stairs, hair tied up, wearing an old t-shirt and tired eyes. She scanned him, jeans, old sweater, scuffed shoes. The ring caught her eye, but she didn't comment. Okay, she said. Don't be weird. Or dramatic. Or rich. He nodded. I'll try not to. She moved aside. The apartment smelled like cheap coffee and laundry detergent. A radiator clanged in the corner. Carlos sat on the couch, blanket over his legs, TV remote in hand. He looked up, paused. You must be Dan, he said with a smile. Famous Dan. Daniel blinked. Famous. In this house, anyone Maya lets in is famous. Daniel stepped closer. Carlos pushed himself up to shake hands. His face twisted in pain, knees trembling. Daniel reacted without thinking. Here, he said softly, reaching out. Carlos froze. Pride, fear, stubbornness, all mixed. Then he took the help. Daniel felt the weight of him, felt the tremor in his muscles, felt every year he'd missed pressing into the moment. Once Carlos settled back on the couch, Daniel stepped back, unsure what to do with his hands. Coffee? Carlos asked, grabbing the pot. I can, Daniel began. Carlos shot him a look. I'm injured, not useless. Maya snorted from the kitchenette. Daniel sat in the chair that wobbled. So, Dan from work, Carlos said. How long you known my girl? Not long, Daniel said. I handle events. Events, Carlos repeated. Fancy man. Maya rolled her eyes. He's not fancy today. Carlos grinned. You married? He asked Daniel. No. Divorced? No. Kids? Daniel swallowed. I don't know. Carlos laughed. Man, what do you mean you don't know? Maya froze. Daniel froze harder. Carlos noticed. His smile faltered. Joke too soon. Carlos asked quietly. A little, Maya whispered. Carlos's brows pulled together. Before anyone could recover, he grabbed his coffee and switched the subject. You hungry, Dan? No, Daniel said. I'm fine. Liar. Maya, get him something. Dad, he's a guest. He's human. Humans eat. Daniel's chest tightened. They were treating him like family. He didn't deserve it. But he wanted it so badly it hurt. They talked. Well, Carlos talked. About construction jobs, stupid coworkers, the day he almost dropped a toilet off a roof. Daniel listened, laughing in small, stunned bursts. Then Carlos stood to go to the bathroom. His knees buckled. He grabbed the wall. Daniel leapt up. I've got you, he said, steadying him. Carlos didn't argue. Daniel walked slow, gently, stayed close enough to catch him, but far enough not to crowd him. In the bathroom doorway, Carlos exhaled shakily. You move like you've done this before, he said. I haven't, Daniel whispered. I should have. Carlos looked at him strangely, then closed the door. When he came out minutes later, exhausted and pale, Maya was watching Daniel with something unreadable in her eyes. She jerked her head toward the fire escape. Come on. They stepped outside into the cold. He's remarkable, Daniel said. Yeah, she said softly. I missed everything, Daniel whispered. His first steps, his first words, every birthday, every stupid fight, every lesson. I missed all of it. That's what happens when you're not there, she said. He nodded, throat tight. I want to tell him, he said, but I don't want to break him. You already did, Maya said quietly. You just weren't around to see it. He flinched. She sighed. He has a specialist appointment tomorrow, she said. You come. You hear what the doctor says. And then you decide if you're staying or running. I'm not running, Daniel said. Not again. We'll see. The next morning, the hospital smelled like disinfectant and quiet dread. Daniel sat beside Maya in the waiting room, hands clasped so tightly the knuckles had gone white. Carlos sat across from them, cracking jokes to ease the tension, but every few seconds, pain flickered across his face. Dr. Patterson entered with a calm, professional smile. Carlos Rodriguez? Carlos grunted. Depends what you're about to say. The doctor gestured to the consult room. Inside, the lights were too bright, the air too cold. Scans glowed on the wall, twisted lines of vertebrae and shadows that looked expensive. Your spinal damage is significant, the doctor began. But we can help. A fusion surgery, combined with long-term therapy, has a high success rate. How much? Carlos asked. The room froze. The doctor hesitated. With the operation, hospital stay, rehab, 70 to 90,000. Carlos laughed once. It wasn't humor. Great, he said. Does that come with fries? We have a social worker who can go over options, Dr. Patterson said carefully. Options, Carlos repeated. Right. The doctor stepped out. Silence settled like dust. Carlos pointed at Daniel without looking at him. Say nothing. Daniel obeyed. Maya swallowed, then reached into her bag and pulled out a battered envelope. Dad, she said softly, we can't keep pretending this doesn't matter. Carlos stared at it. You bring that everywhere, Maya said. Maybe it's time someone else heard it. His hand shook as he took the envelope. He unfolded the letter, the creases soft from years of rereading. He began. Carlos, he read, voice rough already. If you're reading this, it means I didn't get to say this in person. I'm sorry I kept so much from you. Daniel closed his eyes. Your father's name was Daniel Westbrook. Carlos continued. We met when we were young and stupid. He was scared. His father pushed him. He made a terrible choice. Carlos swallowed hard. He gave me money, he read. I told you he chose money over us, and that part was true. But I never told him I kept you. That was my choice. I didn't want my boy growing up begging for scraps of a man who didn't know how to love you. The words struck like blows. But if you ever find him, Carlos read, barely holding himself together, don't hate him forever. Hate what he did. But if he's changed, give him a chance. For your sake more than his. The paper trembled in his hands. He lowered it slowly and looked at Daniel. Is that you? He whispered. Daniel nodded once, painfully. Carlos's face collapsed into fury. You did this, he said, voice shaking. You decided I wasn't worth knowing. I did, Daniel said quietly. And I regret it every day of my life. Carlos slammed the letter onto the table. Regret doesn't fix birthdays. It doesn't fix childhood. It doesn't fix me. Daniel's voice cracked. I know. I can't give you those moments. I can only show up for the ones left. Carlos stared at him, angry, broken, grieving. He sucked in a breath. I don't want your guilt money, he said. I'm not here with money, Daniel said. I'm here because I should have been. I'm here because I will be, from now on. If you'll let me. Silence. Maya held her breath. Carlos looked at the floor, his shoes, the letter, then Daniel again. I'm furious, he said. I'm confused. I feel like I'm living someone else's life. I don't trust you. You don't have to, Daniel whispered. Carlos exhaled shakily. But I'll try, he said. For her. For my mother. Daniel's breath left him in a soft, broken sound. He sank to his knees without meaning to. I won't run, he said. Not anymore. Carlos reached out his hand, rough, trembling, and pulled Daniel into a clumsy, painful, real embrace. Maya looked away quickly, wiping her eyes as they hugged. Months passed. The surgery was rushed when Carlos woke one morning unable to feel his right foot. Panic hit the apartment like a lightning strike. Daniel was already at the door when Maya tried to call him. At the hospital, everything moved too fast. Papers, signatures, consent forms. Daniel paid without blinking. Carlos tried to fight him. This isn't charity. Carlos snapped. It's repairs. Daniel shot back, shaking. Repairs with interest. The surgery took 7 hours. Maya paced. Daniel sat stiffly, hands pressed together, ring at his lips. When the surgeon finally smiled and said, "It went well," Maya sobbed into her hands. Daniel turned away and cried too, quietly, like a man who didn't know how to make noise when he broke. Recovery was slow, exhausting, frightening. Carlos cursed, laughed, cried, joked, and tried again. Daniel drove him to appointments, held his elbow when he pretended he didn't need help, learned which vending machine pretzels Carlos hated the least. At home, they found a new rhythm. Carlos taught Daniel to fold tamale dough correctly. Daniel kept messing it up. Your hands are too soft, Carlos said. Your instructions are vague, Daniel argued. Your face is vague. I don't know what that means. Exactly. Maya watched them bicker like toddlers and felt her heart heal in places she didn't know were broken. 6 months after the surgery, Carlos walked, slowly, carefully, from the couch to the front door without touching anything. Maya cheered. Daniel clapped like he was watching a miracle. Carlos wiped sweat from his forehead. I'm handsome again, he announced. You're delusional, Maya said. Same thing. 1 week later, Daniel arrived with an envelope. For you, he told Maya. She frowned. If you're about to do something rich and stupid, it's for you, he emphasized. She opened it and froze. Northwestern letterhead. Her name. Full scholarship. Plus a supplemental grant from the Rodriguez Westbrook Foundation. Maya's heart thudded. You named a whole foundation after us. After what I owe, Daniel said softly. After what you deserve. She blinked quickly. Carlos looked shocked. You do realize scholarships have paperwork, she said. You can't just buy your way. I didn't, Daniel said. I funded a program. Anonymous. You qualified on merit. I just made sure the door was unlocked this time. Carlos pointed at him. If you put your face on any posters with my name next to it, I swear. I won't. Good. Because poor people need real help, not branding. I agree, Daniel said. That's why you're on the board. Carlos blinked. What now? Daniel smiled. Carlos groaned. God help us. 1 year after Maya's hand froze over that champagne bottle, 3 rings glinted under cheap fairy lights in a churchyard. Carlos's original ring, his mother's copy, Daniel's heirloom, finally no longer a secret, and a 3rd ring, smaller, lighter, engraved for Maya. True North, the family we choose. Daniel gave it to her the night before Carlos's wedding to Rosa, a kind woman from the building who made the best pozole Maya had ever tasted. I know you hate surprises, Daniel said, handing her the box. But you're part of this too. Maya opened it. Her eyes stung. You didn't have to, she whispered. I wanted to, he said. The next day, neighbors and nurses and cousins crowded into folding chairs. Kids ran between tables. Cheap fairy lights flickered from the breeze. Carlos tugged at his tie. I can't breathe. You're fine, Maya said. Don't fall. If you fall, Rosa will drag you down the aisle. Romantic, he muttered. Daniel stood behind him. You sure? He asked quietly. You can walk alone or with Maya. Carlos held out his arm. Come on, he said. You're not running away this time. Daniel swallowed. Are you sure? He asked again, barely breathing. Carlos's face softened. Yeah, he said. Dad. The word hit like sunlight. They walked down the aisle together, slow, uneven, Imperfect. Perfect. Rosa cried. Maya cried. Daniel cried. Half the guests cried. At the reception, music blared from a borrowed speaker. Jollof, tamales, fried chicken, and cake from a supermarket box filled every table. Maya stood on the side, smiling at her father dancing carefully with his new wife. Daniel approached with 2 cups of cheap punch. You think they'll last? He asked. She survived him during physical therapy, Maya said. Marriage is nothing. He laughed. She twisted her new ring. Feels strange, she said. Being happy. You're allowed, he said. She looked at him. You are too. He glanced at Carlos, laughing, moving whole. I'm learning, Daniel said. Carlos caught their gaze and lifted his ring. Daniel lifted his. Maya lifted hers. 3 compasses. 3 roads. 3 lives, finally pointing to the same place. Later, when the sun dipped and the lights flickered, Maya sat on the hood of a borrowed car. Daniel joined her. You know this could have gone wrong, right? She said. You could have ignored me. Or I could have kept my mouth shut. Daniel exhaled. I've imagined every version where I don't follow you into that hallway. And I hate all of them. She nudged his shoulder. You're doing okay, she said. For a reformed coward. High praise, he said. Don't get cocky, she added. You mess up. I know where you live. He laughed. Honest, unguarded. And for the first time in a long time, Maya didn't feel like she was drowning. The future wasn't a fight she was losing. It was a road. And no matter how the story began, they were walking it together now. If this story moved you, tap like. Subscribe to Story Arcadia TV for more redemption arcs like this. And in the comments, if you had a second chance with someone, what would you say?